Hey, what's going on, guys? Xbox All In channel, host Saber Forever here for another Working Crew podcast. Getting it started right now. Wanted to start on time. But as always, man, just give me a moment. I'm trying to get all this stuff up and running and send out all the notifications. Looks like the YouTube channel is streaming. So, yeah, man, we'll be good to go. Just give me a couple minutes. Wanted to do this earlier, man, but I was tired. Slept good, though. At my age, man, when you can get some good sleep in, dude, you have to take it. I'm actually trying that Rise coffee. Well, I end up ordering Rise coffee because of its gut healing properties. It's been pretty good, man. I'm not gonna lie. Feel a little bit more energetic. But then I bought the they have a hot chocolate, which is still made with the same blend. It's like this mushroom thing. It's made with 5 different mushrooms and stuff like that. But at least with the cocoa, it has a little bit. It has other stuff. You drink it at night, and it's been helping me sleep, dude. It's been helping me sleep so good, dude. I actually have dreams. I never dream. I haven't dreamed since I was like 17, 18 years old. And when I drink this stuff, man, I guess because it puts me in that deep sleep. I've been having dreams now. I'll be like, dang, dude, this stuff is pretty good. But if you guys are interested in it, if you guys are like me and you guys are trying to take care of your gut biome and you're having digestive problems and stuff like that, and you just wanted, to switch up your vitamin intake and stuff like that, I would recommend it. Especially if you can get it on sale. Every once in a while they have it on sale where you can get it for like $30. Luckily for me, there's somebody that I knew that kind of got off of it, and then they had extra packs, so they didn't want to waste it. So they gave me a couple extra packs, so I've been using that too. Because that stuff adds up, man. I know it does. So definitely look for sales. But I have to say, man, so far so good. The taste, I'm not a big coffee drinker, but the thing I like about it is it doesn't really taste. It's not strong. And then you can mix like certain type of creamers, or you can mix it with your protein powder and stuff like that. You don't have to drink it hot. Um, I try to, but it has a kind of bitter taste, but not as bad as regular coffee. But I can't drink coffee. I don't like the taste of it. Yeah. But anyway, guys, let me get this stuff going. This is funny because I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff from my Twitter account because we're going to be talking specifically about Microsoft today and the Xbox brand. We're a pro Xbox channel here on YouTube, one of the few, one of the honest and few Xbox channels that are out there. I like to say one of the most honest gaming channels that is out there, but I don't cover all of gaming. We do, but that's not my focus on this channel. Unlike other people that are out there on YouTube, some of which I used to follow, I had to stop, man, because a lot of them they talk about gaming, but they have the same problem as the gaming media, dude. It's they talk about gaming in general, and if they stay general with it, then that's fine, right? There's very few people that are able to do that though, because at the end of the day, like I tell you guys all the time on this channel, most of these people get get their news or the information from the internet and from gaming media on the internet, right? And the circles that they have, kind of, but it's mainly they stick with the narratives that are out there, and it's frustrating for me as a gamer, especially as an Xbox gamer, and a gamer in general, dude, because they're so wrong on so many things, and it's equally frustrating because they don't do the deep research, or more worse, these guys don't play games. It frustrates me. That's why I say a lot of the time. Let me shut this off so I don't get confused. A lot of the time, I don't cover PlayStation stuff, right? Like, well, if the guys come in, man, I send out the back signal. Um, Hopefully, some of the guys will come in here, and hopefully the chat will be up. But what was the biggest news this week, right? It was about PlayStation, or since what last week even, right? When Sony, bend the knee, right? That's why I titled this "Bow Down" is the title of this Wrecking Crew podcast that we're doing, man. Because eventually everybody's gonna bend the knee to Microsoft, right? And Sony. And it's funny too. It's like in typical Sony fashion, right? They sit back, they watch, right? A lot of people were saying they're, because they're the industry leader when it comes to gaming, which they're not. Um, because they make the best games, which they don't. Which they have the most powerful system, which they do not. All the lies that all these ponies have to tell themselves, right? It's all gonna get exposed now. And again, if you've been on my channel, you follow the guys that's on the crew. You guys know our perspective. A lot of you guys, well, not the normal people that we rock out with the circle that we have here. Um, but when it comes to out in the gaming sphere, right? And you talk to these people, you have to deal with all this negativity. You have to deal with all this ignorance, right? As E-Rock likes to say, these guys let them sleep situation, man, because it does no good to try and talk truth to power to these guys, right? So you just let them go, and eventually they're gonna come around because Microsoft. If you guys didn't know, they passed the 4 trillion mark um, valuation. So they are one of the few $4 trillion companies that are out there. There's other people coming up, right? Especially with the cost of everything nowadays, right? There's a whole lot of stuff. I talk about the economy on this channel. The reason why they're doing that, right? And we can dive into it a little bit too if you guys want to talk about that, right? Because of all the layoffs and stuff like that, and Microsoft gets pinpointed. Every other company can lay off hundreds of thousands of people, but it only matters in Microsoft's case. And people are still running with that narrative, and that's what I mean when I talk about this gaming community, dude, and these gamers, quote unquote, with their and some of them have big channels, dude, and they're just wrong. They're just 100% wrong. Because again, they don't own Xbox. They don't play the games. They fancy themselves gamers, and with the internet the way that it is, people have an opinion. Like I'm sharing my opinion on my channel all the time. But I will guarantee you this: I play my Xbox. I own an Xbox. That's important. Number one. Number two, I buy my games, right? Or at least the ones that I like. Or I'll even say the ones that I might not like, because I take a lot of chances on games that I buy too. But this week, man, it was amazing to watch. And again, I'm not 100% in this stuff, man, because Microsoft in and of itself is changing. Something I talked about on my channel, like I told you, man, I keep it 100% on here. And some of you guys might disagree with me, man, because it doesn't fit the way that you interact with the Xbox ecosystem, but it's definitely affecting me. So I got to be 100% with you guys, man. I'm not going to hide how I feel about some of the stuff they're doing, right? But, dude, it was just amazing to watch a lot of these people, right, trying to come to grips with what's going on, what's really going on um, in the gaming industry, in the gaming sphere, right? And I'm talking from like your Dustin Laguerres to your IGNs, all across the board, dude. The ponies that are out there, the influencers that are out there, people that touch on Xbox. Like for example, John Campia did a video talking about the Xbox movie and TV store closing. I didn't watch it, dude. I haven't watched. I stopped watching John Campia a long time ago. And to me, he used to be cool, man. He used to be more of a fan. Then he became to me like a show, dude. And then he just got a little bit weird and off. So I stopped watching him. But it's funny too because I used to watch his movie talk all the time. I used to love that show and some of the people that he had on. And then then they and it's kind of funny that I'm gonna say this, man. But then they bring people on there and they built this big crew, man. And then they got political, dude, and it ruined everything. Right. And I say it's funny for me to say that because I do talk politics on this channel. But it just ruined, man, their show, dude. It was hard to watch after a while, and a lot of their fans too, man. They lost a lot of people, dude, and they tanked. And then that was the funny thing about everything, right? It's that's when you kind of expose that a lot of these people were not really. They knew what they knew in the lanes that if they just stayed in their lane, right? But when it came to stuff outside of their lane, and that's the problem, dude. A lot of and it's funny to me because I don't want to be hypocritical. Because when I was hurt heavy into pop culture, I still am, but I mean really heavy into it, dude. I was really happy about a lot of these places that I would frequent, like an IGN back in the day. Um, a lot of these places that I would go to get my information because they were becoming multifaceted, right? So they would cover comic books, they would cover video games, they would cover movies, television, right? They were encompassing of pop culture because at that time, and this was a couple decades ago, at that time, dude, that if you're reading the TVs, that was the way to go. And for a while, it was good, man. It was really good, But then normies got involved, money got involved, and then people got political, right? And that kind of ruined the whole thing. And then because a lot of people got exposed, dude, because you can trust a person's opinion. You can trust a person's opinion on something, and then you know that they're like a subject matter expert. But then when they start spotting off on other things, right? Especially when they start giving wrong information. Like case in point, why we're doing this podcast, right? Because a lot of these dudes, man, they just been out there just talking, and they got exposed, dude. I don't know how else to tell you, right? Like in the wrecking crew with the guys that I hang around with, it's T-Bot, um, Sega Man, dude, Unlimited, E-Rock, Tuck, all these dudes. Even Mr. 100 has been doing these videos, right? Go check out his channel as well. But a lot of the guys that I ended up following from the jump in 2013, dude, that I still follow, man, a lot of them know what's going on, dude, and they be talking about it all the time. Dude. And one of the things they always say is how Sony, what Sony does is they just copy, right? They sit back, they watch, and look, dude, from a business perspective, that's cool, right? But Sony, man, as long as I've known them, dude, even back in the day, dude, used to call them the evil empire because they would do shady stuff, right? And that's the difference between Sony and Microsoft. Microsoft, especially with their Xbox brand, well, and other stuff that they do too, but specifically Xbox, since I'm a pro Xbox channel. But um, they forge new direction. They take new directions through. They forge different paths. They take risks, right? That's why you do have people, they'll buy, they'll spend money, and then they'll also cut back. That is the nature of their business. But to me, that's the way business is. Right? Again, it's not cool for people to lose their jobs and stuff. But I don't get hung up on that stuff because everybody's losing their jobs everywhere, dude. Even where I'm at, man. I have to do a career shift, right? And then I might have to do another one because you never know, dude. You got to stay fluid with this stuff, and it doesn't feel good. I know, I get it, right? But that's the reality. That's why when Microsoft cut the jobs, it's not that I didn't care about the people losing their jobs, man. But it doesn't surprise me, man, because I'm seeing it all over corporate America, especially in the tech industry. Dude, the tech industry is getting those guys. Like I say all the time on my channel, those guys thought they were untouchable, and they learned a very um, sobering lesson these last couple of years, right? Again, you remember when he was telling people, "Oh, learn how to code." Like I remember when my daughter, she just graduated a couple of years ago, and they were pushing her to do STEM, and she didn't want to do that. Right? They're telling coding is the future. Now look, you know what I'm saying? So you got to keep your head on a swivel. And for a company like Microsoft, dude, with the things that they do, the fact that they just passed $4 trillion, guys, they're in the $4 trillion club, $4 trillion club, and the only one that's up there with them is Nvidia, right? I think it's Nvidia. And a lot of the stuff that they're doing to put them in that position is because they do a lot of R&D and they take risks. You know, they read the tea leaves, they look at the past, and I'd say 8 times out of 10, they're they're ahead of the ball game and they're successful. It's that 2 times out of 10 that they're not, right? And that's what everybody tends to focus on, and that's why you can't. That's why you shouldn't listen to these people. Man. You just shouldn't. You listen to these people, man, they're gonna lead you astray, and you're gonna make bad decisions. Right? And it's gonna inform your opinion, man. And you're just like a lot of people I watch play games, dude, or there's a lot of people online talking about games, dude. They don't look happy at all. Or I look ticked off all the time. Like I told you guys, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So the Mines of Moria was something I was interested in. Kind of fell off to the wayside because we just got too many games, especially for somebody like me who has to work, right? And so it was on sale. I took a chance, bought it. I took a chance and bought it, and dude, I've been enjoying the game. Now, naturally, like any other game I play, there's some things as I'm playing the game, even though I'm enjoying it, I was like, oh, I wish they would do this, or too bad they didn't do that. Right? But that doesn't mean the game is bad, right? That's just my opinion. especially the type of games I'm playing. It's basically an open world action adventure, kind of RPG ish, right? Simulator. And when it comes to Sims, man, you can only like collect so many items and you can only grow so many things, right? So you got to add some variety to that stuff, and that's where the flavor is when you play these type of games, man. And hopefully somebody puts a game together, especially when it's with a brand that you grew up with, whether it's reading the books or watching the movies, or diving into the canon of the lore of the Lord of the Rings, man. That they come up with something that feeds both fandoms, as a gamer as well as somebody who enjoys the actual property. And that's what I mean, guys, when I talk about like I've never experienced a time in gaming like this. There's like a lot of channels that are out there saying how crappy video games are, yet they still talk about it. Right? And so, for me, it's kind of like, dude, you have to find something enjoyable about it. Is there problems with gaming? Yes, definitely there is. Right? But is it that bad? No, I don't think so, dude. I focus on what is good, and I enjoy the stuff that they're doing in the gaming industry that is really great. Right? Like, there's never been a time right now where you have instant access to everything. Right? Now, the problem, of course, that's everybody's looking at right now, at least people in the know, that they're beginning to realize is that when it comes to this stuff, going digital, going online, and stuff like that, there are some things. There are some problems that people are having, right? And some of it's actionable. Um, but as far as looking at the future, man, there's some stuff that they got to take care of. So I don't blame anybody for hedging their bets or going in a different direction. But still, my point being is that it's never been a time in gaming where it's been so big, and there's been so much variety. Those two things alone for me, it keeps me engaged. This is why I don't do as much stuff on my channel. I'm actually playing my games. I'm playing, like I told you guys, I'm playing this game called Sandland. And the thing about Sandland is it's an awesome game, right? But the leveling up, you're gonna have to put time in the game. I mean, I think I finished it. I'm not sure, right? Because I had a point where I did this. I did the main. I was following the main storyline, leveling up at the same time, exploring. Trying to keep that balance. And I don't know if I'm done with the game. I came to this one part, and I think I did the main quest. It looks like, and then I'm doing a bunch of side quests right now. Then revisiting areas and trying to level up the enemies, because you level up the enemies, they drop. As I level up and the enemies level up, they drop better gear, which allows me to level up my tank. Right, it's that type of system. Kind of a little bit off the beaten path. But the thing that really brings me back for more is the gameplay, as well as the actual world that they created, which I think is pretty cool. But it's one of those. My point being is that's one of those games that I could be playing for weeks, if not months, right? Because it's one of those games that has replayability, at least the way that I play it. Because I have no qualms going back and fighting a boss over 30 times. Um, because when you defeat a boss, you turn like they have these bounties. You defeat a boss, or you get the bounty, you go turn it in, and then that person levels up to the next level, and you keep on doing that. And so, in fact, that's what I had to figure. That's what I had to figure out with the game. I had to try and balance it out because there's two times that I got stuck, and then I realized, oh, okay, just like when a lot of people played Avowed, and they're trying to get their experience points and stuff like that when they should have been focusing on the character when they should have been focusing on the gear. And I'm not saying that you might not like that. There are people that don't like stuff like that. I get it, dude. It's personal preference, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean the game is bad, and it's definitely needed, dude, because this is the only way that you're gonna get experiences when it comes to gaming, and that's why I can't stand a lot of these channels, dude. Right? When they talk about stuff and they talk about gaming, number one, they all repeat themselves. Okay, that's number one, and number two, dude, or three things. One, they repeat themselves. Two, it doesn't sound like they enjoy gaming at all, right? And then three, dude, you have to take risks in these kind of things. If I was just stuck on just hating Marvel and what Marvel's doing, with the comic books a long time ago, that died for me. And then the cinematic universe, right, which I enjoyed, especially with my kids being at the age, and they kind of grew up watching Marvel movies and stuff like that, right? Um, just I just can't. I just can't, dude. I just can't. I'm just like at some point, I'm just like, dude, I gotta walk away, right? Because they basically ruined their brand, right? And so if I was just bitter and just stuck there, right? And then look, dude, it's like anything else that nerd or geeks do, man. Then you gotta find the next fix, and that's what I did, dude. I went over to anime. Yeah, granted, I went there because my kids were young and they were wanting to watch it. I didn't want them to watch anything weird, right? Because I know they do some weird stuff, but I ended up liking it more than my kids. I watch more anime than my kids do now. You know, like I talk about Solo Leveling on this channel, dude. I'm watching this new one called Crevetus or something like that, and I mean it's a little bit raw. It's a little bit raw. That's the only thing about it. And I'm not just talking about in the brutality of the action scenes and stuff like that. They got some raw stuff in there. Good story though, good characters, right? But that's the reason I watched anime, to make sure that my kids don't get too far afield with this stuff, right? But then I ended up loving anime, and then now I'm reading mangas, and then manga's grown so much that they're converting stuff over to graphic novels and making stuff in graphic novel styles. Because I won't I tell you guys on my channel, man. The thing I don't like about manga is I don't like reading backwards. Right? It's weird to me, dude. And then a lot of their stuff is just black and white. Great art, right? It's something to behold and stuff like that. But if you like me and you grew up reading comic books, dude, that's hard. That's hard to do. It is. But at the end of the day, man, I loved it. And now I'm a fan, right? So that's what I mean, man. Then you go somewhere else, and that's what I always do. Right. And then if not, man, I just pull away. It's not hard for me to do that. Like I've talked about my concerns with Xbox on this channel, with Microsoft. Technically, the direction that Microsoft is taking them, right? In fact, I might do a first world problems, right? So we can talk about it in more detail. Um, but I want to talk about the ecosystem and what Microsoft's direction, right? Kind of like how we're talking about now, dude. It's just like there's nothing, you know, you can't fake this stuff anymore, man. All the cards are on the table, and Microsoft basically these last, this, I mean, since the beginning of the year, but most definitely within the last month, is just saying, look, this is it. This is what you get. Whether you're a fan, whether you're in their ecosystem or not, whether you're a consumer with them or not, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're gonna bend to their will. Now, 80% of that I like. The 20%, I'm a little bit sketchy on because of some of the stuff that they did. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I feel or what I like. At the end of the day, I have to determine if I want to participate in their ecosystem, quote unquote, or not. Right, and that's the message, and that's basically what I want to focus on today, man. Because that's the message they're sending out to everybody. Some of it a little heavy-handed, not really, for Microsoft, but definitely in a passive-aggressive way, and then just they just put people on notice, right? With a smile and with a smile, what do they call that? With a wink and a smile on their face. But eventually you will do what they want you to do. Because again, like you say all the time, dude, they are the biggest. They are the behemoth, right? They are the biggest. They're the big man on campus, dude. Everything that they do, right? The industry will follow, and that's because as we talked about earlier, dude, they're a $4 trillion company. They were a $3 trillion company. They were a $1 trillion company. But when you have that type of capital and cash, right, whatever direction you go, people will follow. Now, I will say, dude, that they're not heavy-handed, like other companies can be. But I mean, that could change too. So be wary. But I'm just saying, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because if they want to put their games on your console, they're gonna put it on your console, whether you like it or not, or whether I like it or not, and then everybody else will follow suit, right? And there's people right now on the Nintendo side that's like that'll never happen. I'm like, dude, never say never. There's a lot of things Microsoft has done that a lot of people said would never happen. Right? We have years of looking at their track record and seeing that they do the impossible, right? And some of that stuff people don't like. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, dude. You're gonna do what they tell you. You're gonna do what they put out there. And I still hang true to this, dude. The only thing that's gonna change that is Microsoft themselves. If one day Satya looks at the numbers and says, you know what, dude, we made $5 billion, but we're supposed to make $10 billion. I don't know if this is working out. That's the level. That's why, and I've always told you guys that on my channel, dude. That's how I look at Microsoft. It has nothing to do with Sony. and it definitely has nothing to do with Nintendo. Right? When you listen to these gaming types, right, all these people on the channels like, oh yeah, Sony's this, Sony's that, and Sony makes the best games, and Sony's a big corporation, man. These guys are absolutely clueless to how big Microsoft is and how they shift things with just a simple, nod. Right? They're like, oh, okay, we're gonna do a streaming service. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna put our game on your system. Oh no, we don't want your game. Oh no, but if it's but I mean, they don't heavy-handed it, but they'll be like, well, but it'll be good for the industry, and if you want it, it's there. Right? And by the way, looks like you could use our Azure servers, and they do it like that, dude. So eventually, man, it's like it's like the boiling frog in the boiling pot of water. It's that thing. Like it just gradual and over time. And trust me, man, I've seen them do it. And I've been watching this for a long time. I've been watching this for years, dude. Especially since Xbox One generation, because that's where I put all my eggs in a basket. You know, literally, dude. I do everything on my Xbox. Right? And then when we do the culture, I'm gonna do a video about the culture of the Xbox, the culture of gaming when it comes to Xbox, because that's changing really fast. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Just spoiler alert, dude. I'm not liking it because it affects how I interact with my with Xbox, not just the console but their ecosystem, which they've been pushing for a long time. Sorry about the noise, guys. Military choppers flying over federal land. Oh. All right, let's see. We got like helicopters and freaking. Let me see if we can get to this, dude. I'll share my screen, guys, so you can take a look. Let me load this up. There we go. So here we go. Microsoft joins exclusive $4 trillion market cap club after AI search, joining only one other company, which should be NVIDIA. As you can see by the video playing. 55587, dude. And they jump fast, dude. A lot of it is because of the AI stuff. Again, I did a video on the channel and talking about the AI chip, which is amazing. I find it fascinating that they do that because it straddles the world of tech and futurism in a sense. But yeah, because some of the stuff they talked about, dude, especially when they talk about alternate universes and stuff like that, or pulling from I don't know a better way to put it except for a multiverse, right? Stuff that can bend space and time, basically. Was it this past Thursday they did it? All right. Joining NVIDIA as the only two companies to reach this level, the upward move came after the tech giant posted stronger than expected results. Revenues jumped 18% to $76 billion, and the net income rose over 23% to $3.4 billion. The bulk of the growth came from the company's cloud computing arm and demand for artificial intelligence, and that's what they're running with. This is why, for me, it was important that Microsoft throw their weight behind the Xbox brand because people are just trying to assassinate it. And I'll definitely take the devil, because like I said, that's come with some baggage. When Microsoft supported them 100%. But at the end of the day, dude, with everything that was going on, man, look, dude, the gaming media, all the Xbox haters, dude, all these stupid people that just follow the narratives that are out there, dude, that would have affected me directly to the point where they were just trying to get the Xbox out of there. Because a lot of these dudes are PlayStation fanboys, both consciously and subconsciously. They're PlayStation fanboys because they grew up knowing nothing but PlayStation, and this is the generation, especially in the gaming side, that's pushing gaming into this. They're the ones that picked up the torch and carrying it into a new generation. Unfortunately for them, they got guys like us now that are still around, and that probably drives them nuts, man. I've had conversations with these people, right? At some point in time, I would like to be hands off with this stuff, but not. But since I still participate in gaming, that's a big no. I'm not going to let you take gaming down this road. And thankfully, Microsoft got involved in that. Again, you can have issues and hangups with Microsoft and stuff they're doing with the Xbox, but overall, right, the most important thing is it keeps the Xbox brand solvent. This is why you see all the stuff happening over on Sony, man. One, because their sycophant fan base was ultra focused on Xbox when they should be focusing on their own console and their own games, and they just spend too much time on the internet instead of playing their systems. And now you have PlayStation games coming over to the Xbox. But this is a pretty impressive. Just they'll do a Bing search, guys. They'll do a Bing search, man, and you will see, right? Instead of listening to all these clowns online. Yeah, and I know, I get it, guys. I mean, I'm strapped for time too. Luckily, I'm politically charged when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've been doing this for years, so it's not hard for me. So I mean, if it comes between doing this or playing another round of small map mosh pit on COD, I get it. I definitely would pick the small map mosh pit every time. But if you do a channel like I do and you want to be responsible, you have to do this stuff, dude. That's just the bottom line. Because a lot of these dudes are not doing this, and they're giving you guys false information, man. I'm just going to be honest with you, and that's not what you want. All right, let's see. There's another one. Can you see it? Let me make sure I'm on there. Okay. Here's another one. Microsoft annual cloud revenue hit 75 billion. Profits beat expectations. Microsoft said Wednesday that annual revenue for its flagship Azure cloud computing platform has surpassed 75 billion, up to 34% from a year earlier. The Azure cloud business is the centerpiece of Microsoft's efforts to shift focus to artificial intelligence because it is coming, guys, whether we like it or not. My best advice to you, especially when it comes to your jobs, is to try and get ahead of this curve. Right? Again, be fluid. Maybe work on some other skills. I'm doing that myself right now because it's coming fast, right? And you don't want to be kind of left out there, you know, with your hands in your pocket. Because when it hits, because as you can see, dude, it's not even this stuff is not even in a full effect right now, dude, and it's causing a lot of chaos and turmoil, right? Because people are used to being in certain situations, and we do as we're creatures of habit. Sometimes we get comfortable, but also like it doesn't like for even people that are, um, trying to stay ahead of the curve, man. It's hard, dude, because this stuff just happens so fast, dude. Look how fast Microsoft hit 4 trillion, dude. I remember not too long ago, dude, they were under $1 trillion, and then they crossed, and I was more ultra focused on what they were producing, especially when it came to Xbox, but more importantly, what it was coming with their cloud services because we use that too, right? And their server farms and stuff like that. They focus on all this kind of stuff. Again, that's why I like, and one of the reasons why I think they keep Xbox just because it's a proving ground for a lot of this stuff as well, right? Because they would talk about it in a lot of their showcases and stuff, right? And a lot of you guys, like some of you Xbox dudes, man, you guys don't know that because you guys don't follow it that deep. Right? So that's why some of you guys get caught with your pants down, man, because you guys don't know what's going on. And it's not hard, dude. You just gotta spend the time. And that's another reason why I don't like these dudes, man. Because if you're gonna be a gaming channel, and you don't even have to be a hardcore gaming channel, dude, what you should do is at least stay up on the trends, and that's gonna require you doing some research, and that's gonna require you. Dang, dude, this is a noisy one. I don't know if you guys can hear the planes in the background. That's the funny thing, dude. They'll fly these planes over because they want to see the koalas and stuff like that. They want to see the mountain ranges. Before they used to just come over from the ocean and just land, but now they come over, they circle around. Ugh. But again, that's why these guys don't know what's really going on, man. It's irritating, dude. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I miss the old media, dude. And the old media was print, and it's not just about the print, dude. It's just about the legwork people would do and the passion people had, right? Because they were actually gamers at the end of the day, and that's what drives me nuts, right? Because a lot of times you read what these guys write, and you just wonder if they actually enjoy gaming. Like for me, dude, when I complain, when I do my rants and stuff like that, dude, that's because I do love. playing on my Xbox console. And I do like the ecosystem that Microsoft built. And for me, it's kind of like protecting my investment, man, because I have a lot of games, spend a lot of time, right? Just to keep people honest. That's another thing. Microsoft annual cloud revenue hit 75 billion, profit beats expectations. And I think they had their earnings call. I'll go try to look for that as well. I had this kind of saved up already. Microsoft said Wednesday that annual revenue for its flagship Azure cloud computing platform has surpassed 75 billion, up 30%, 34% from a year earlier. The Azure cloud business is a centerpiece of Microsoft's effort to shift its focus to artificial intelligence, but until Wednesday, the company hadn't disclosed how much money it makes. This is one of those things where other industries are getting involved with that. That's why the money is so big. And you know this stuff is real, man. We talked about it on the channel, guys. They're actually opening a nuclear power plant. For all of you guys that are politically charged that keep up with all this stuff, right? Are finding, you know, and are amazed in the simple fact that things when it comes to energy has changed within a year. Over 2 years ago, but over especially in the last couple months, I'd say like the last 8 months, right? For example, right? Everybody, like when I was growing up, dude, you were taught that nuclear energy is bad, right? And I'm old enough to remember people still talking about 3 Mile Island. Well, there's a company that's going to reopen that facility, and that company is Microsoft, right? And then you see the narrative shift, right, when it comes to energy now. Like everybody was green, right? Even Microsoft, dude, they would push all that crap to us on their ecosystem, right? On your thing. Oh yeah, or you pick up the news, they have a conference when it's supposed to be talking about games, and you're like, do you know that the Xbox is an energy saving mode, can save you this much fractions of energy, right? Meanwhile, you got all these other countries around the world just burning coal like it's going out of style, right? Limiting ourselves to the green energy monster, right? And I'll be honest, dude. The green energy thing, it's a it. I'm all for variety, right? I'm all for different avenues, right? Like for me, if I had the money, right, I'll wait for it to get more affordable, but I would change my entire roof into solar panels because that's what Tesla's working on right now. And look, if you hate Elon and you hate Tesla, don't worry about it. The way the market works, right, is that other companies will come up and maybe they'll build a better mousetrap. So you have variety. Again, we're going back to that choice, right? Um, but you'll be able to store energy, and then you can get the batteries, store it in your home, so then you can live more off the grid, right? And so that part of green energy I like, right? The whole sustainability and stuff like that, it's not sustainable, right? What it is it should be an alternative measure, right? So if you're living like where I live, where the population has blown up exponentially, and now they're having brownouts, right? What you need to do on this island that I live on is all hands on deck. So you need coal, you need gas, both natural, right, and liquid, right, as well as nuclear, solar if you want to, right. Can't stand the panels that they put on the mountains. Absolutely, that's the funny thing about people here. Like I know where I live, dude, with all these greenies. They'll sit over there and they'll say like, "Oh, we want to save Mother Nature and the beauty of Mother Nature." And meanwhile, I drive to the other side of the island, so they got panels all on top of the mountain, which looks absolutely ugly. Right. To save the environment, they build this ugly rail that nobody uses, right? Because they want to get everybody out of their cars, which will never work, right? So the reality of dealing with that stuff in real time is what I'm talking about, right? So lo and behold, Microsoft comes in, and not just Microsoft, Google, Apple, Microsoft now, right? Microsoft just passed 4 trillion. Apple, Google, they're all up there, man. All of these dudes went to the administration, the current administration, right, and said, "Oh, by the way, can we look into nuclear energy?" Okay, they know the current administration will listen to them and will push for it, right? And but meanwhile, the last couple of years with Xbox and Microsoft, what have we been hearing from them? We need to go green. For all these companies, man, like all these car companies, everybody they just jumped on that bandwagon. And the main reason I have a problem with that, dude, is because it became monetized to the sense of that's what's the driving factor, not what their lofty goals were, not what they promoted it to be. If they're at least honest, I could respect that because it's a business, right? Because everybody jumped aboard that bandwagon, and that's why it got out of control, Like where I live, dude, they built a rail that was just overpriced. Sorry, I just want to paint this bigger picture for you guys. All right, hold on. I lost my. Where is it? I lost. Okay. Right. You have to peek beyond. You have to peek behind the curtain with a lot of this stuff. But I knew it was real, man. When Microsoft is gonna reopen 3 Mile Island now. The technology for nuclear has gotten way better, right? Safety measures and everything like that. We can build a better mousetrap. We've advanced, right, to the point where there's quantum, like people are talking about quantum physics and quantum energy and stuff like that. That's there's different frontiers. It's amazing to me when it comes to energy. There's these other frontiers that they want to tap into, but in order to get to that next level, they have to progress away from what we've been talking about for the last 15 years about the direction of what our energy needs are going to be, which I think is awesome. Again, not anti-green energy. It has its place, dude, but it's not going to fulfill the needs, not just of these companies that are running these server farms and all this AI that they're going to do, right? But just for the average person, man. Because if you notice, man, if you live in a state or in a city that promotes green energy, dude, your electric bills are high, right? And because of certain policies that certain parties and politicians have, right? That's why your gas is high, right? Because that's just the way of the world right now. Until we build a better, more sustainable, as Iron Man said, right in Avengers, a more sustainable energy source. We got to make do with what we have, and that's the sad thing about it, right? Because coal and that kind of stuff is not the monsters that they were 30 years ago. We've improved because that's how we are with human nature, right? Make it cheaper, make it more affordable, right? Expand profit margins, do all that kind of stuff, right? The right way. But when you have a company like Microsoft, dude, and they're pushing that, it's just the nature of the beast. That's the way it's gonna go. And it's funny to me, man, because a lot of people were saying that Microsoft, especially with some of their, like their employees, right? People, some of the heads, like Phil, great guy, right? But they push certain narratives and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because it always boils down to just one color. It's green, and it boils down to one thing. It's money and profit, right? Which is what a business should focus on. Now, if these guys get evil, right, then I'll be right there with you, definitely, because I don't, and I don't base it on evil because of some such social economical thing, dude. I base it on evil just on pure righteousness. Like, dude, if you're being greedy and you're taking advantage of people and people are hurting, you should stop, right? And you're like, oh, what can you do to stop? I just don't participate. I'm doing that right now, dude. There's a lot of stuff I don't participate, quote unquote, like spend my money or spend my time, right, for products or companies that I don't agree with or that don't fit my bill, right? Or don't, or even worst case scenario, the most worst thing is not giving me what I want. Like people are like, oh wow, you're such a huge Marvel fan, but you don't watch the movies. How do you do that? I'm like, dude, I don't like what they make. It's not hard. It's not complicated. Right? I rather spend my time on money and on stuff that I like. I'll put it to you this way, dude. I will watch Solo Leveling, the anime that I like right now. The anime is my favorite anime right now. Solo Leveling has only 2 seasons, and I will rewatch those seasons over and over again instead of watching any current Marvel movie. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. That's the way I roll, dude. I started watching Flash again. I started off. Flash was on Netflix. Forgot it was on there. It popped up on my listing, and I just like, all right, I'll check out the first episode, man. I remember how good the first season was. The first episode turned into episode 4, and I had to stop because I had to go to sleep. I was like, oh, dude, I gotta stop. But man, I was watching it, and I was like, dude, I get so much pleasure out of a show that came out years ago, the first season at least, and that came out years ago, and then me and my kids used to make time to watch. Like every week when that new episode dropped, we were right there, ready to watch it. And I would rather do that again than go watch Fantastic Four or go watch the new Superman. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I lost my thing. But again, dude, as these big corporations go, that's just the reality of it, dude. And to me, I love it because it's good for me to see Microsoft actually wake up on some of this stuff, right? Like, yeah, this conversation, but I think some of these people that were let go were some of the problem people from these companies that Microsoft picked up. I know it's out there on the internet. It's not a popular opinion. People get pissed off. I don't care, dude, because I just look at the, I'm just following the patterns. I'm looking at what's going on, right? And again, I tell you guys all the time. I talk about the economy up there. You need to be lean, and they want a return on investment, ROI, and they can't do that, right? If and I'm not saying that the Xbox is bad. I don't think Phil is doing a bad job. They had a roadmap, but they're definitely changing that roadmap. And it's not that Satya. To me, it's not that Satya sits there and just ha ha ha. You know, I want to do this to piss off Sega forever. No, he's doing it right. He's just looking at the bottom line, and I get it. I will push back a little bit on that and say, you know, well, you have a culture there. You need to take care of that culture, right? Because that's also part of gaming, and you have to grow that in gaming as well. You know, they've done a great job reaching out to a lot of different people that don't normally play Xbox, right? They stayed on that path, but you also have to give people a reason to stay and participate in your ecosystem. There's a reason why Netflix is still number one streaming service, and nobody will touch them, right? And that's given a person like me who they put out content I do not care for at all, right? But then there's stuff that I like that people absolutely can't stand. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they look at their audience, how big, how varied it is, and they put it all out there. That's what you see with Game Pass, dude. There's games in there that people they'll drop a game on there, and somebody will come in on you'll be on X or social media somewhere, and somebody will be like, oh look at this, games are trash. These games are dumb. I don't play these kind of games. Yeah, you don't play these that kind of games, but there's somebody else that does. This is how Frostpunk games like Frostpunk and Frostpunk 2 become popular, right? This is how some of those like these guys are supposed to be big Japanese JRPG fans, dude, right? But when I listen to what they say or I read what they write, dude, it doesn't add up at the end of the day. Because if they were, right, they would know what's really going on, and they don't. And again, yet another article, and I'm showing you guys this stuff because, as you can see, a lot of these sources I'm pulling for particular reasons, right? It's across the biosphere when it comes to business, right? And what I mean by that is, dude, everybody's covering it that has a tech. Like if they're a news agency or if they're a tech centric news source, they're there. But if they have any type of if it's any type of news media that have a tech section, you know, like how for whatever reason this Variety has a gaming thing, and I get it. I know why. I talked about it a little bit earlier, right? I mean, I talked about it a little bit earlier because that's the direction I was like 15, 20 years ago, right? Cross pollination, right? They're just bad. They're just bad at it. Paul Tassi's horrible. Um, and they drag a lot of their opinions and personal baggage into it at the end of the day. But anyway, right? This is why I share these type of articles, right? And I share this on my X account, right? To look that is to give the to let you guys know the impressions. You know, everybody just they're the big man on campus because everybody's covering it because this is huge, not just for the tech side but for the money side as well, right? And for Microsoft to hit a milestone like $4 trillion, dude, this is why I follow Satya. Don't agree with them shutting down the movies and TVs. I think that's bad. But then again, I go on the internet and I see a story like this and I'm like, okay, well, all right. You know, what can I say? Still don't like it, the movies and TVs thing, but you do you at the end of the day. And this is the second here. They're only the second US company to pull this off. Positively to this. Oh, you know what? I gotta look up. I gotta go look for the. Hold on, guys. I wanna this plane. Bear with me. Those planes are irritating. You know, it's funny. I used to tease my friend because he moved on to this new development on the other side of the island. They're building up this other part of the island, making it a second city. And he moved out there, and I was teasing him because the airplane because it's near the airport. Because the airport, if you guys didn't know, there's a tsunami warning here in Hawaii, and what it was a lot of the reasons why there was on the news they showed all the traffic and stuff like that because the areas if you guys don't know how an island works, right? Island where you have your most islands are built from volcanoes in the middle of the ocean. Oh wait a minute, dude, that's not. Hold on, that is not a commercial plane. Yeah, that's not commercial. Where I live, man, there's a mountain range, and over that mountain range, the Marine Corps base is there on that side. And then technically on my side, we have the Air Force base as well. So I know we have Raptors and stuff like that, and logistical aircraft, China, in China and everything. But yeah. Did I read that part? I kind of got distracted. Sorry about that. I like these comments. Analyst comments were so effusive that they read like movie poster blurbs. I've been covering Microsoft for a while. I don't think I've ever seen a quarter where everything came together this well," said Keith Weiss, an analyst at Morgan Stanley on the company's earnings calls. And again, this is why you guys got to do your own research, and this is why you guys gotta stick your biases, right? Check that at the door and read this as honestly as possible. Like again, you guys know I don't like them putting games on other consoles, right? I'm old school like that, and I also don't like the fact that they shut down the movies and TV, right? But I check that at the door when I come in and I look at this stuff because, like a lot of other people that you're looking at online that put their stuff out there, you can their biases show and it shows badly. Like I know what I like and I know what I don't like that Microsoft does, especially with their Xbox brand. Right, but at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this stuff, it speaks for itself, and you have to check those biases. If you don't do that, you're gonna end up like a lot of these channels that go out there and talk and they're wrong. They end up being wrong, and they should apologize, or they should retract it, especially if they're a journalist. But they never do that, right? And this is why they lose a lot of credibility. For me, dude, you might not agree with me on things, you might hate what I say, but at the end of the day, dude, I'm being honest, at least 100%. Or I give myself 98%. Nobody can be 100%, to be honest, but I try my best, right? And that's why I show you this kind of stuff too, dude. This is what you got to do, man. If you really want to know what's going on, if it doesn't matter to you, that's fine, right? But then, like, that's why I have a problem with these channels because at the end of the day, they don't do the heavy lifting, and it doesn't really matter to them, but they still talk about it. And that's why I do those rant videos because it ticks me off because they share bogus information. Right? But anyway, yeah, I remember. I was talking about the island. So the way the island works, right? You have a volcano that comes up, and then the land revolves around it, right? And that's how the land gets built up. So a lot of the most usable land, or especially where I live, right, is near the coast, and that's why the tsunamis are bad. Now, if you're like me and you kind of live more inland, I'm in a valley part that has a little bit of a incline, right? I'm not by the water directly, though it doesn't take me long to get to the oceanfront and stuff like that. Plus, a lot of people just watch too much movies. When they think about this kind of stuff, they're one of the reasons the traffic was so bad is because people try to get away from the area instead of just moving up, like in Waikiki, right? If you're in Waikiki and you're a tourist, some tourists have no choice, but they have these massive hotels that are easily 25 stories, right? You can just go up 4 or 5 stories, or go 10 stories if you want to feel really safe. Right. That's the best option. What else we got? Yeah. The other one is it was a slam dunk quarter as Microsoft delivered a Scotty Schiffer like performance, wrote Wedbush analyst Dan Ives in a note to clients. Continuing his recent habit of likening a company to the world's top golfer while mixing in basketball metaphor for good measure. Microsoft observed quarterly growth of 39% crushed expectations, wrote William Blair analyst Jason Adler in a note to clients, adding the results instill greater confidence in Microsoft expanding enterprise footprint. And for a lot of you guys that are out there that keep up with gaming and wonder what is Sadia doing, there you go. Here's your answer. He's juggling a lot of different things. Again, follow him directly, dude. He puts stuff out there, dude, and he definitely is not one of those CEOs that like to skip a keynote. Right? He'll be there, so he'll let you know what they're doing. And this is why when you read some of this stuff, it seems like these people are caught off guard because they don't follow it. Not even, and I'm not saying not even the deep dive stuff, just the stuff on the surface. Dude. They get everything secondhand. This is why when you look at the news media, and I'm talking across the board, right, it sounds like people just repeating themselves. Everybody just because that's what they're doing. They're just getting their information from each other. Kind of like what Hunter talks about when we do our channels with Xbox stuff. There's only so much stuff you can talk about. That's why I don't have to do videos during the week. Right, news like this pops and drops, and I'm like, okay, I can talk about it on Saturday when I do the wrecking crew. right? Because at the end of the day, I can play my games, finish another graphic novel with Solo Leveling because I'm actually reading the books, right? Getting the content from the books, which has been interesting, and spending my time that way. And then I'll just get up early on a Saturday and be like, all right, I'll just do a podcast today, see who wants, if anybody wants to jump in. If not, just roll with it and then discuss what's on my mind. Because at the end of the day, this is why, dude, I don't stress when it comes to Xbox. Like my stress for Xbox comes for things that I think that to me are real, right? And I'm saying me specifically, right? Because some of you guys might not care, right? If all you do is want to just play your Game Pass and stuff like that, then you're sitting pretty, and I'm sitting pretty too because I love Game Pass. When it comes to Game Pass, right? But some of the other stuff, I haven't been happy with what they're doing, right? But the most important thing that they're doing is the most important thing for any gamer is the gaming, right? This is why like people are like, oh, because when I talk, I'm just being honest, right? I'm giving my opinion, and some of the fellows in the thing might not agree because that like maybe they don't participate in the ecosystem the way I do, and that's fine. That's my choice, and that's their choice. Everybody's different, right? So, but when it comes to things that bother me, and I'll share my opinion, and you might not agree, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, when it comes to gaming, dude, they're untouchable. They're untouchable with the simple fact they're putting their games over on another console, and um, it's dominating that console sales chart, right? Which shows again, which reiterates the things we've been talking about on this podcast, and that the other guys have been sharing on their own channels, right? Is that normies run the gaming industry, right? Just like the movie industry, just like any other business. We have to get the normies in there, dude. That's how things grow, right? And the normies don't care about console wars, and the normies don't care about what Microsoft tends to do with their TVs. And well, I can't say that because I've seen people complain about it because they do participate in it. Like so, I can't really say it on that level. But at the end of the day, do they look at where it's, and so in a sense, it's kind of bittersweet for me because I don't like that they did that. But at the same time, it also shows that they have a lot of confidence uh, in their gaming division, right? Because they're ultra focusing on the gaming. Even the cutback guys, dude, this happens in every business. I'm not saying like if you're a fan of Everwild, looking forward to that game. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset or disappointed, or that you want to voice that or not voice that. Right? That's totally dependent on you to do that, dude. I get it because if it was Fable, I'd be pissed, and I'd probably be making videos about it. So I get it, right? But at the end of the day, we're just talking about the bigger picture here, right? And I gotta be honest, right? And when it comes to gaming, nobody's touching it, dude. I spent like 2 hours on my console last night playing COD, and then I switched over to Sandland because I wanted to make some progress in that game, and that's how I'm playing my game, dude. You cannot not, you cannot. That's why I can't like when somebody like a lot of these Xbox guys, I can't take them seriously, but because at the end of the day, they do not play their games, right? And I know they're not playing it. They spend too much time on the internet because, dude, the things that they complain about, right? It's not true. Like if you're any type of gamer, Microsoft has something for you out there, right? And it's always the same thing. It's just like, okay, I like simulator games. Do they have 5 million simulator games? Well, they don't have like Animal Crossing. I'm like, dude, of course they won't have Animal Crossing. That's for Nintendo, right? So go get a Switch if you have one. Then play your Switch, buy the game, play that game over there, dude, and take Microsoft out your mouth and Xbox out your mouth because that's where you really want to be. Well, I'm a gaming channel. I need to talk about this stuff. Well, you need to talk about it more honestly because you're exposed. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Where am I? I think this is the last one. Let me show this one. Yep. Look at that. Microsoft is set to join Nvidia in 4 trillion market cap club after strong earnings report. And there's the man, the myth, the legend. Also, the color of he who calls divisions and jobs, Satya Nadella. Microsoft reported its fourth-quarter earnings on Wednesday. Shares in the tech giant jumped after earnings came in above estimates. CEO Satya Nadella said that cloud and AI continue to drive the company's growth. Yeah, they're also focused on it. They invest a lot of money, so they need that return on investment. Microsoft isn't slowing down. Yep. Unfortunately, some of this stuff has caught the Xbox ecosystem in its path. And it's just like I was playing Tarborn, and there's this one boss. He's a pain to kill, and I figured out his pattern. Right. I mean, I'm not young. Right? It took me a little while, but I finally figured out his pattern. And the kind of cool thing about him is when you're fighting him, all his minions come out, and his minions are kind of like him, which makes sense, right? But when they come out, dude, they're not like you just can't. You have to break their guard. And so what I do, and I figured out, is that because there's this charge that this boss has, and he'll do it like 3 or 4 times. He'll charge at you, dude, and you can use him to break, uh, to toss his players in the air. Because he'll run over everything. He's trying to get to you, and whatever's in his path, dude, he'll run over them. And when he does, man, you kind of sidestep, and then you can take out his guys because they're up in the air, and then you can strike it. You don't have to worry about breaking their guard, especially if I'm using certain characters. Right? Right. So that's kind of Microsoft. They're like that boss character, right? That's why again people will bow down because I mean they'll take friend and foe, man. They'll take customer and anti-customer alike. They have a vision, dude. And this is why it's kind of like and I gotta watch what I say when I talk about this, right? Because I am a person that likes futurist and I like future thinking, facing future kind of stuff, right? And so that's why I kind of, that's one of the reasons I follow Satya, man. But these guys will get hyper focused on this stuff, dude, and it almost will become like a cult, almost like a religion to them, where they're so hyper focused on it, dude, they don't see anything else around it, and they're just moving in that direction. And that's why they're a $4 trillion company. This is what makes them successful, and probably why I wouldn't be a good businessman because I don't think like that. That's not in my wheelhouse to do. If I'm being honest. Well, I don't know what that. Did I lose it? Where am I, guys? All right, I'll just make sure I'm on the same page. But that is impressive. Am I back on it? Yeah. Let me clear this stuff, dude. So one man show here. Gotta do what we gotta do. I'm gonna clear these tabs, guys, so we can. I do want to continue on. As you can see with Microsoft, exceeding expectations. I'm pretty sure they're very happy. None of this is by accident, dude. They worked really hard on it. That's why when you look at some of the stuff that's being said in the media, don't take it to heart. These, as you can tell, to become a $4 trillion company takes a lot of time, money, and focus. So a lot of the stuff the media says about Microsoft is just not true. They don't have time. They don't have time to deal with all this many things, right? And again, as a consumer of the Xbox brand, right, it does have effects, right? Some good, some bad, depending on how you look at it. Like for me, you guys know I talk about the ecosystem as a whole. It's my one-stop shop. Like once they took the movies and TV app out, the app is still there. You still watch the stuff that you bought, which I think is good. They needed to do that because I think they really messed up when they didn't give people notification. Um, because at the end of the day, they look at the bottom line, and sometimes and that can be good and bad. But again, this is the direction they're moving in, right? But I find myself, I'm not as active on the console as far as the dashboard. Because I went to go spend my Microsoft points. Like I'm just gonna be honest with you, dude. I have like 200,000 in reserve. I spent 100,000 like earlier in the year, beginning of the year, stuff like that. Usually I keep it around 300. But they've changed their Bing points, man. I've seen it, dude. The way I buy, the way I participate, as far as their economy, digitally, dude. I don't make as many points anymore, and I knew they were gonna change that. They talked about it last year, but I can see the effects in real time because I haven't changed my spending habits, right? Regardless, because my spending habits to me is this is what I do, right? So whether the economy is good or bad, maybe I pull back a little bit. Like for example, Killing Floor 3 came out. I decided to wait for this weekend to go pick it up because I got bills I got to pay. Dude, I had to change tires on my car, dude. That was like $1,200, right? Learned a valuable lesson, dude. Your model of your car matters, right? Luckily, they were able to find me the cheaper tires. Unfortunately, everybody else, when they changed it, they want the cheaper tires. They don't want the $300, $370 one. They want the $140. And things just cost more money, dude. I live in a state on an island that's expensive. Regardless of what's going on in the mainland, it's always like that over here. That's why if you ever had people that came here. If you knew people that came to Hawaii, they say, "Oh, Hawaii is beautiful." good time. The people are nice, but it's so expensive there, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard that. But that's the reality of it. So regardless of what the president does, or regardless of what's going on in the world and stuff like that, things here tend to stay the same because we're already at that level. Now, I will say it has increased a little bit more. I'll see that. But since I live my life a certain way, dude, I've already put up my barriers and stuff. That's why I don't, when people come and attack me online about the economy and stuff like that, I said, I know what's going on, right? But keep in mind, dude, that everybody has their own story and they live in different areas because it does matter geographically, right? But at the end of the day, dude, I just have to suck it up, and I'm like, all right, cool, you guys do you. I'll just focus on the stuff that I love that you give me. But when it comes to everything else, man, I don't use my Xbox as much anymore like I used to, right? And I would prefer to use my Xbox because I'm right there. But I find myself more now drifting towards my TV, my television, as far as the streaming the stuff, right? Also, I will say, dude, Microsoft, they have to get better with their streaming. Like their stuff was on point, but now they're having all like when I go to look at a store and I want to check out a trailer on a game, I'm already on Xbox, dude. I just go to the store because I might also want to buy it. So I hit the trailer, dude, and I'm watching it, and then it just starts slowing down, and then it pauses. You gotta fix stuff like that, dude. Their attention to detail really is bad. That's one of the things. Maybe I'll say this for the first world problems podcast, but that's the one thing that for me that Microsoft needs to work on, just to follow through and finishing. Finishing would be nice. Right. This is why I can't. Again, this is why I can't stand these gaming sites because you go onto these gaming sites and what are they going to talk about for the 100th time? Yeah, I just saw it this morning, dude, where they're talking about the layoffs. So people are still bringing up the game that they canceled, the Dragon one from back in the day. See, I even forgot the name of it. It's been so long. When Phil pulled the plug on that because they pulled the plug on these other games, regardless of what Nintendo and Sony are doing or not doing. Right, it's all ultra focused on Microsoft, and they're bringing that thing up back up. And I'm like, dude, like this is why I can't stand the gaming media too. It's not just because they're pro Sony, or they get false information, or they lie. But it's also the simple fact that we can't have honest conversations because this is the stuff that we should be talking about, right? If you have an Xbox, dude, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Some of you might not bother, but I know I'm not the only one, especially participating in an ecosystem, right? Like I was playing this game, like they were advertising the game. It looked pretty cool. Started playing it, right? Because like Sega Man does, I try and play as many games as possible, right? And so I'm playing the game, and I was getting into it. Dude. At first, when it first started, like, ooh, kind of rough the graphics, but graphics aren't everything, right? Then I began to do some of the exploring. Again, it's a PC kind of game, so I had to adjust the control, right? I don't like that mouse. That's why I can't play PC games. Dude. It's like that mouse, that fidgety thing, and then get a little bit nauseous. Right, went to the control thing, adjusted it as best I can. Right, and that wasn't perfect, but I'm like, all right, this I can play it now. Then I start playing it, and then I'm like, oh, this is really unique, and it's a bit quirky, and it's odd. I'm in, right? Then the story was getting good, and I just started going through the levels, started doing the story, stuff like that. Then I get to this one part where I got to hook up something like a heater, and it would not hook up, and it just irritated me to no end because I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. Is it me? And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna go online and see if it's. I'm like, okay, I'll just stop here, come back to it later. And 10 to 1, I probably won't because I'm playing 5 other games right now at the same time. Meanwhile, the new Ninja, or what is it? Sega's dropping the new Shinobi. Or they dropped the new Shinobi. I know T-Bot said something earlier. Right, so they got all this stuff going on. Right, so I'm like, look, dude, I'm not going to, get your stuff right, dude. Have it there when you put it out there, dude. Put it in the best possible condition you have because for me, a lot of times, dude, it's not even 3 strikes, dude. It's 1 strike and you out. And it has nothing to do with me personal against the company or the game. I find a lot of these games interesting, and I want to try them out, man. But if the thing's not correct, dude, I can't continue. And then you wait for your patch, and then you patch the game, and then meanwhile, I moved on to 2 other games. Dude, I went back and I'm starting to play Call of Duty. World War II is one of my favorite Call of Duties that they ever made. It's such a fun and visceral game. It's like a little bit closer to like the Modern Warfare 3 the original that I was playing back in the day that got me hooked on Call of Duty. Right. And again, since we're here, I'll throw this out there. This is why a lot of these people are stupid. If I get it, dude. If you're running a business and you have a company that's going to fund you, or like Sony's going to fund some of these games, or even Microsoft funds games, or Nintendo might fund your games, stuff like that. I get it. I understand. I have no problem with you doing that. Now, if you get funding from someplace else, and then you kind of talk trash to the other companies, then you're done. Because already you're on my back burner that you produced it for this company. I get it. I don't no animosity, right? But I'm also looking at where I'm at and what I'm doing right now, dude. And at this point in time, dude, right now for a lot of these people, because they are creatives, right? At the end of the day, dude, they gotta get a little bit smarter, especially in this economy. And the reality is, man, your game might not be a success. You can do everything right, and it might not be successful at all, right? Because money's tight, and there's just so much content out there. Right? This is why people get shocked with the game like Fortnite. I was shocked with Fortnite. I played Fortnite, and until they have that multiplayer mode in there, dude, wasn't feeling that game, right? Because I was playing it online, and all I was doing because basically it would start off as a zombie game, and then it had the simulation of building forts and stuff like that. And that's what I was focusing on. Then it went to multiplayer, and I just kind of lost interest because it's a multiplayer of that generation. You know, this is why some people that are old COD fans, you hear them complaining about COD now because it's like that twitchy type of shooter now. It's always been arcadey, which people can handle. Right, that's why you see some people now looking forward to Battlefield because it looks like Battlefield's going back to their roots, which they never should have left. Honestly, what's the point of being like COD? You already have a COD. You have to differentiate yourself. So it's nice to see them come back, dude. I might do a reaction on some videos on the channel. Right? But at the end of the day, dude, it is what it is. And so, for me, moving forward, dude, it's just like I look at what Microsoft is doing. It is impressive. Um, I definitely I can't hate on it, man, because they are killing it right now. Dude, when I saw that, and I knew they were eventually going to go there, I didn't realize it was going to be that fast. And I'm talking specifically about the $4 trillion or $4 trillion valuation. Hold on, guys. Let me respond to this. See, multifaceted, man. 35 posts. Let me switch, guys. Hold on. I want to switch over to. I do want to switch over to the Xbox. It is kind of cool because I use Bing still a lot because I do like Bing. I love it better than Google, man. A lot of people tell me Google's better. And I kindly respond to them that Google is a communist piece of trash company. That's why I don't like them. Operation Dragonfly, look it up. And one of the things I hate about them is I understand that stuff and I don't like it, right? But the thing that really pissed me off about Google is they're the ones that was preaching to the choir about people's rights and privacy. And they were also on that bandwagon of social justice. Meanwhile, they're doing evils in the background. That's why I never use Google, guys. I mean, I use YouTube, so that's another thing. So maybe when they start canceling people, like my channel will probably be disappeared and I'll be fine. Like I say, when I do this, I'm talking to the void. And I will be doing some politics, man, because I'll be getting blasted on my politics from people that I'm like, okay, they even watch my YouTube videos. So they might have seen one and then anyway, I got to address some stuff when it comes to politics, which people won't like, but that's okay. I was just happy playing Sandland. Right, but I'm going to have to address some stuff here. I won't do it here. This is not the forum to do it, but just see the video. And you can choose to avoid it or not, or watch it or not. Dude, this is pretty crazy. And I'll be honest with you, dude, even if I wasn't an Xbox guy, I'm kind of like the fact that Microsoft is the lead on this because I just think they're the right people to do it for now. But like anything else, look, dude, human nature, the human factor, dude, don't never underestimate that for all the stuff that people talk about when it comes to AI. Still, a more dangerous thing is the human equation. That's why I love zombie shows, man. The zombies will do that. Zombie, like the Walking Dead showed that, and it was very well done. But here we go. Microsoft reports strong cloud earnings with Windows and Xbox up too. I can't wait for this to happen. I think cloud, it's good now. Not perfect by any means, dude. They really need to work on it. And again, this is coming from a person that lives on a rock in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so keep that in mind. Take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think this will solve a lot of the issues that Xbox has with storage, right? If they can, and I know they're doing it more than storage. They want to get all this stuff streaming, and then play anywhere type thing and stuff like that. But for me, on a console, right, and storage is an issue with them. I wish they would have addressed this. This is why a lot of the time I know they're software oriented, but they need to get more hardware oriented, or work with people to get more hardware oriented. Because again, it's funny when they try and imitate the model of Netflix, but they make a lot of the mistakes that not even Netflix did. Right? Netflix was ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff. They made mistakes too, but not like Microsoft, dude. If you're gonna have a streaming service, dude, you gotta have this cloud. Either you gotta have the storage issue done, and I know, look, they can get storage too, but I'm not buying 2 terabyte. Number one, it's expensive. It's expensive. That's number one. But number two, dude, I don't want to have 20 different ones. I could have 20 different 2 terabyte. Um, what's it called? Externals, right? And then the other option is to use my old ones, which have like 10 terabytes, right? But then again, then you have to download it and the switching back and forth, dude. I mean, you have a service like Game Pass. It's time to go next level. That's just the reality of it, dude. And that's the stuff I talk about when with Microsoft, right? But again, maybe this will help. And maybe when the cloud service gets goes like, I think it has to go next level or two to get the cloud service to the point. And I'm not just talking about like just playing their games, right? I'm talking about just in the quality of the streaming and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, dude. They've done it, it's gotten way better, dude. Because before it was unplayable for me, where I was. I still wouldn't play a fighting game or shooter, something that requires just download that. But then what it does save me on is a lot of the indie games I like to play, some of these open world games and stuff like that, dude. They've gotten a lot better, so I don't have to take the time to download it. I can just play it. Now, every once in a while, there'll be hiccups, right? That's what I mean. They need to get better. I'll be playing a game, it'll be running fine, then it freezes, or I just totally get booted off the cloud, right? And every time I see that queue thing, it drives me nuts. I'm like, no, dude, come on. Let's step up our game, dude. We've been doing this is the direction we've been talking about since what? It's almost been 10 years, like 7, 8 years that they talked about it. Look, I know it takes time to build the ecosystem and the infrastructure, but at the end of the day, dude, this is what you've been doing. So you need to start ultra focusing on that. Look how fast they're able to build up on the cloud, and then with their IT stuff and AI stuff, right? So let's go. Let's do it, man. Because at the end of the day, it'll benefit everybody. Either even if you're not yet an Xbox person, it'll like I said, they are the industry leaders because they're the ones that do the R&D. They're the ones that push the tech to its limits, even outside of tech, right? With a lot of the stuff they're doing. So the sooner they do it, the better it is for everybody, right? As you can see, right, you see the ponies are kind of quiet now. They've been quiet, they still chirp every now and then because they're psychotic. But with everything going on, man, and Sony bending the knee, now they're gonna bring their games over here. I think what's that game? There's a shooter coming out that everybody's been talking about. I don't know if I'll have time to play it, dude. It sounds pretty cool because it's from what I hear everybody talk about is Starship Troopers, right? But for me, I'm kind of like, well, dude, I got Killing Floor 3 just dropped. And I'm still playing my COD games, dude. And then there's other shooters I could play. I haven't even played Fragpunk. I don't want to play that. Battlefield is going to come out. Right? I could go back and play Warhammer, Dark Tide. That's what I was talking about earlier. We're not like if you're a shooter or if you're a fan of any type of game genre, you're not hurting on the Xbox. Dude. All it is the narrative that's out there, dude. And if you get past the narrative, dude, then it's over. Right? Once they lose the narrative, once Sony and loses that narrative, dude, it's over. It's been over actually. People just haven't realized it yet. Which is the whole point of this, man. This is why I talk about like bending the knee. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen for everybody. They're just going to bend that knee. And there's nothing these guys are able to do about it. Dude, look, again, I'm venting a little bit about some of the stuff I don't like that Xbox is doing, and I'm an actual consumer, and I'm a super user, right? You know what I'm saying? And I spend a lot of my money in their ecosystem, right? And that's why it bugs me. Like right now, dude, I'm forced to what I like to do is when it comes to my movie and entertainment, even gaming, dude. I've had to change with gaming, man, because you end up falling behind if you don't. But when it comes to the way I consume media, dude, I just don't like to do it just to do it. It's not a check. I don't like to have like a box I have to check. Okay, I watched a action adventure movie. I watched Indiana Jones. Right, the game came out. Indiana Jones. I bought the pack, the digital movie pack. And I was like, cool, because I'm gonna play the game and I'm gonna watch the movie as I play the game. Right, and then I do it that way. Like I do it on kind of like feel, right, which is odd for me. I know, guys, because the way I am and how politically charged I am. But when it comes to consuming entertainment, that's how I am. Dude. I just don't like checking off boxes. And that's what I feel like right now. Because I have a bunch of movies and content on there that I have not got to, right? And I never intended to get to right away. It's just like on how I feel. Like I bought the complete season of Magnum PI, the whole series. Sorry, not season, the complete season of Magnum PI. Now I don't know how long I'm going to have that digitally, right? But that's not something that I just want to sit there and like, okay, I'm just going to watch this all the way through, just so I get my money's worth. No, I don't want to watch it like that. I want to watch it when I feel like watching it. So maybe I'm on YouTube. Somebody does like a nostalgia video about how it was in the '80s, and then maybe they feature Magnum PI. Like example, Hulk Hogan passed away. I did a video about that. Right, Hulk Hogan passes away, and a lot of people are watching WrestleMania 18. I've been going down the rabbit hole, looking at Hulk Hogan's matches with the Iron Sheik, which are classic, right? With King Kong Bundy, watching matches with him and Big John Studd, watching matches with him when through the generations, because as Hulk set the standard for wrestling and made it what it is, right? Then he went through a lot of generations of wrestlers, dude, from both the WWF back in the day, and then WWE to the WCW and NWA and then WCW. Right? Now, he's a generational wrestler, dude. So you can pick and choose whatever point in time you want to pull from to enjoy that nostalgia beat. Right? And I tell you all this because that's how I consume my media. Right? Now I've got a little bit more discipline, man, because the time is an issue. But this is not something that I just like to be like, okay, I'm going to watch Better Off Dead, right? Just because. Right? I don't know how long I'm going to have it. Now the good thing about Better Off Dead is I have it on another streaming service. But after all this stuff, right? And again, I was wary of it. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. I was very wary of it, dude. I didn't go into this stuff blindfolded. I knew that this was a possibility, and I'm dealing with it right now. But luckily for me, Better Off Dead is movies anywhere. Microsoft was good at that, right, for the movie stuff. A lot of their movies are movies everywhere. Where some streaming service don't do that, right? And is it a pain to keep on redoing, re-upping with movies anywhere? Yes, it is. But it's a necessary evil, and it's not that much of a problem. But right, that's where I find myself with all this stuff because I have television series as well, not just the movies. At least with I think with the majority of the movies, I was looking through my collection. I say like about 65% is I'll be able to keep it if Microsoft shuts down completely, like they shut down all the digital access to digital for movies and TV, right? But that other 40%, dude, because I don't like when I tell you guys I like Microsoft because of the ecosystem. This is what I talk about. This is what I'm talking about specifically, right? This is how I consume my media. And that's why when I listen to people out there, especially people that purport to be pop culture guys, dude, and I listen to them, I go, yeah, no, that's not that's not it, dude. The only thing that's probably a strike against me, especially concerning like somebody can watch this video I talk about, is because I don't do physical as much anymore, right? Which is always, that's the reality of it for me, and that's why I got to take those arrows too, because I should have like that second or third Xbox with the disk drive. I might have to do that now too, moving forward. But man, this is nuts. It's impressive, dude. It's crazy. All right. Just let me share this one, and then we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Where is it? And we'll do this in closing, guys, because I do have to go. It's almost 9 o'clock, and I got stuff to do today. Dude, how come it's not? Hold on. There we go. Shoot. Man, when that internet is slow, you be hurting. All right, so Xbox Game Pass makes 5 billion as Microsoft reports massive growth. So this is the final thing we'll end on, and then we'll wrap up the podcast. But this was funny to me, right? Because guys like me have been saying this for a while, right? Microsoft wouldn't invest in something that they're not going to make a profit on. But like I tell you guys on my channel, profit when Microsoft, the way we look at profit, like this is huge to me. 5 billion is amazing, and this is just on Game Pass, just one aspect of their gaming stuff. Okay, on a console that's supposed to be dead, on a console that only quote unquote has 25 million. I don't know where they get that 25 million figure from. They should have shifted because, and this is what I'm talking about the media, right? Because 25 was years ago, right? And Microsoft doesn't report their console sales like PlayStation does. But again, PlayStation lies, and Microsoft just doesn't put out the information. So it's up to the person that you're listening to, right? These gaming experts, these people that are in the media, that have to give you this roundabout figure about how many consoles, right? And they always round off downward when it comes to Xbox. PlayStation, they'll round up. They'll be like at 65 million and 70 million. And this is within months. This is why the numbers never match up, right? And then when it comes to Xbox, they go in the opposite direction, right? Because the last thing I heard official was 35. And by official, I mean like best guess in the sense of the person that came up with this information kind of is closer to the middle with this stuff. So take that for what it's worth. But if they're at 30, 35 million, right, and they've had these exponential jumps because of the content that they've shared out there, because of the ecosystem, because the Game Pass has grown, right, all this stuff, dude, there's a level that you should be able to track that exponentially a little bit, right, to make a better guess than what a lot of people are saying. Because you can't be at 35 and then you drop down to 25. That makes no sense, right? And that's what I talk about when it comes to the gaming media. They're dishonest when it comes to this stuff, and they run with these narratives, and that's why everybody's left here scratching their heads, right? Because they dude, it's almost biblical, man. It's just like, okay, you want to lie to yourselves, and then you lie so much you can't tell the truth, and that's what's going on here, right? Because a lot of these guys are just caught up in this narrative, and they can't see 3 feet in front of their nose now. They're just lost in it, right? And they can't discern. They can't make honest judgments or honest critiques. Most importantly, right? And so Microsoft drops this number here, right? Because their earnings report came out, dude. It was. I think Xbox was up 13%. I wish I would have saved that, guys. I couldn't find it. I don't want to be searching around for it right now, but I think the game Xbox itself, the brand, was up 13%. Now this is 13% year over year, and this is 13% in one of the worst economies we had in a long time. Okay, right? When people are pinching pennies, when people are not buying because they don't have disposable income, right? Maybe you might catch them on a good day where they were months without spending anything, and then they get a bonus, or their tax return comes in, and then bam, maybe you might pick them up on that. Right? But these people are not spending money, right, on this level. This is why if you look on Xbox, right, like they have another sale, right, and it's like, hey, special sale for you, Sega Forever. Look how much. I think there was one game on there, dude. That was like $1.49, and I was like, holy cow, dude! I had this on. I had this game on my wish list. That's why I popped. I have it on my wish list, man. I just never got around to get back to it because I have other games that I finished, and it was nothing personal about the game. It's something that was interesting. But right now, I can buy that game for $1.49, and I'm like, dang, dude, that's crazy, right? And that says a lot, dude. This is why a lot of the stuff is that they're doing. They're shutting down studios, and they're, unfortunately for me, moving from services, right? But at the end of the day, you see that 5 billion, and that's real time because Microsoft can't lie. Microsoft lying, Sony can lie all the time because Sony's not important. Microsoft lies, dude. People will be waiting just to sue them, and then if they do lie, dude, people will get hurt. So rightfully so, they should get sued if they did that, right? And I always look at Microsoft when they do this stuff, dude. They don't want to pump stuff. They lowest common denominator. Like they do every other corporation, man. They pump themselves out with their product, dude, and they try and put their best foot forward. I understand that, dude, because I can make up my own mind. I'm not a zombie. Microsoft does something or Xbox does something I don't like. I don't. I let my feelings known, as you can tell on my channel. But $5 billion, dude, that's nothing to sneeze at, dude, and that's off of subscriptions. And that's why a lot of people are like, oh, this is stupid that they put this ad on the thing. But this is stupid that they have this. Like they're charging me $30 for whatever, like the Starfield thing, like with the extra bonus content or deluxe whatever. Right. Okay. And so you might not like that, dude. I get it. You might not like that. That might not be what you want, but the numbers speak for themselves, and that's the reality of it. whether you like it or not. Again, I don't like that they shut down the movies and TV. But again, at the end of the day, here you go, 5 billion. It is what it is, man. I mean, there's you got to take the good with the bad, man. You just got to suck it up, and that's what I've been doing. But this is good. This is good, dude. This is good for the future, right? Again, and this is another reason why I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but this is why companies like Microsoft will do cutbacks, right? Because they want to secure this money. I think they need to really ultra focus on that, dude, because I think that can hurt them in other ways. That's just my opinion. You guys can disagree with me if you want to. I think they need to keep that culture intact. I think they need to keep their people happy somewhat because they're. Seamus Blackley said this years ago. I remember him saying this in an interview. He says one of the things that he knew with Xbox and that a lot of people because he straddled two sides, like I do, like and I'm not putting me in the same league. I'm just saying I kind of have the same philosophy, dude. Is that video gaming is more than just the tech. It's entertainment, and that's what he said. You have people in the tech industry trying to make a console that's predominantly Hollywood and entertainment, right? So that's a fine line that Microsoft and they've had the right people at times in there and stuff like that. But it feels to me like when I look at it, they're kind of losing it. That's why I didn't go hard on Laura Fry. I actually like some of the stuff she said because I do agree. I mean, it's more than just the numbers. It's more about it's way more than just the numbers, guys. Right? You know, what's the point of having the most powerful console and the most content and nobody's participating? You have to keep that. At the end of the day, dude, you have to keep that in mind. And you're gonna have to make tough choices, man. I get it. I understand. But if you're posing your console right, as an ecosystem now, dude, again, we talked about this a bazillion times. Content. You know, which is interesting to me because they did the deep dive with this. Because this stuff should never have taken off. They got that approval. That Phil has been going, and I'm not saying like the whole thing with Everwild. There was other factors to that, like the initiative, dude. I actually like the initiative and what they were going to do because I do believe in that. I do believe that iron sharpens iron, right? Like when they would talk about these guys fighting over them, like yeah, good. Some of the best content, some of the best movies, some of the best comics I've ever read, all that stuff, dude. Batman: The Dark Knight. That's Frank Miller, dude. And you know, I mean, Frank Miller talked about that all the time when he got interviewed because it came out, it hit hard, right? It blew up in the nerd sphere, right? And then it went out to the geek sphere, and then it blew up internationally, and it became one of the finest works in comic book history, right? To ever grace the comic book industry. And then years later, of course, in retrospect, right, they talked to Frank Miller. Frank Miller said, "Yeah, I got death threats, man." And there was like old school Superman people that hated what he was going to do with Superman because it was a shift, right? It was a shift, and it was something of its time. Granted, I give you that, but it's from the genius of Frank Miller, of whom a lot of people are trying to cancel right now, but who pretty much informed a lot of the content you watch when it comes to comic books right now, whether it's in cartoons or television, right? There's a lot of the stuff that he created, right? And he said it, dude. Like people were pissed, dude. He got death threats, you know, because in his version, man, this is, you know, he just didn't think, and it was something as simple as he didn't think Superman and Batman could be friends because they're very different personalities, and then he played on that, and to great effect too, because I love that comic book. Batman Returns is one of my favorite comic books, and it's everything, dude. It's the story, it's the whole premise, dude, and the art. It's everything is fluid, right? But that's a different version. That's not the Superman version of the relationship between Batman and Superman. But that's the risk that you got to take, right? That you need that. That's why I like the initiative, dude, because I wanted to see that, right? Because for me, when you see Phil and what he's doing, what he's showing, when he shows the roadmap, it's just not a bunch of names and games on there, dude. It's a concentrated effort to keep Microsoft because of Phil's background in the creative sphere where it needs to be so that you can get these games. Unfortunately for them, the economy turned south, right? It's been that way for a while now. The industry tech isn't bulletproof, right? They've been taking hits, and this is what happens, you know, unfortunately. But I wish Microsoft, especially given the growth that they have and that they're making hand over fist money, right? And again, it's just not about profits and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It has to. Yeah, I hope they don't lose that. And it seems like some of the stuff they're doing that they're losing it little by little, and that's something I don't care for at all. All right. But yeah, it was wonderful to see these guys. And like, I don't watch like Dreamcast guy. Really no need to, or Reforge Gaming. The fact that I know their names, just because that's how much people talk about them and it's shared. I do watch other people that talk about it though, and from all I gathered from clips people put online and stuff like that, these guys are in free fall at this point in time. And you know what they should do, man? If they were honest, which they won't, but if they're honest, they should admit they were wrong, right? Because a lot of this stuff just comes from hate and protecting their brand, right? And they're part of the console war. That's what it's always been about. And then this news drop, because this isn't just Kotaku, dude. I mean, I just pulled Kotaku's article because it's on the top, but this is across all platforms, right? Business, financials, gaming, entertainment. They're all covering this the same way they covered when Microsoft closed down their movies and TV. And this is how, again, this is how you know that Microsoft, if the Xbox is the big dog, because when they make moves, dude, furniture moves, things shift, dude. The polar caps melt. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Microsoft. That's how big they are, and rightfully so because they are this huge conglomerate. They're huge. You know, they could be one of the dystopian companies in a game that they produce or a game that they create. And that's the reality of it, man. And it's been great watching these people lose their mind. I think it'd be great if they come out and say they were wrong and apologize. They won't, right? And this is why I tell you guys all the time. You know, it doesn't make any sense to listen to these people, man, because they're just so one sided and they're ignorant. Right? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to this stuff, dude, dude, numbers don't lie. 5 billion is a lot of money. And I will say this though, had they had the growth, I think that they wanted to, GG be seeing them buy way more people, which I wanted them to do because I wanted them to corner the market and the industry. And then when they do that, they take those players off the board. Other people will fill their place. And what I mean off the board is like they're working for the corporation, like Activision, right? Most people don't look at Activision as a threat like they used to when they're just themselves and a publisher. And there's some of the stuff that they did, which was in the news, some of that good, um, some of that bad. You know what I'm saying? But now under Microsoft, there's things you don't have to worry about anymore because they're under Microsoft. As you can tell, what Microsoft's doing with them, holding their feet to the fire. Which, unlike other people on the internet, because I have a different skew, a different perspective on this, dude. It's not just about just hiring and firing people, man. They had some issues with some of these companies. There's a reason why they're able to be bought. And Microsoft was real about it, and they went in there, and you have a person like Satya and the people that pulled the purse strings, and they went in there and said, "No, we need to protect our investment," and that's why you saw that. That's my opinion. I know some of you guys won't share that, but I think there's a lot of other stuff going on in the background. And that's why I follow guys like Mikey Barra still, because he talks about that personally. I know he comes across as like a bitter ex-employee, like a jaded girlfriend. But at the end of the day, some of the stuff he's saying, dude, I do believe. There's a lot of drama going on in those companies, dude. A lot, and there's a reason they were being sold at the level that they were being sold at. You guys remember, man? Microsoft just told Activision go see what you can get, and nobody bit. Because like, look, dude, you guys gotta remember, it's an industry like any other industry, right? Just like if it's like the Steelers, you know, I'm a Steeler fan, dude. They got issues too, and that stuff is usually be kept in the locker room. But if you're a fan, you know what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying with Xbox and the gaming industry in general. But that's why people didn't. That's why they balked, right? And then Phil, being a nice guy, looked like they wanted to make those changes. Well, Satya finished it. They're like, okay, we'll just go ahead and cut. Again, my personal opinion. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Go ahead. More than happy to have that conversation. In fact, we could do a podcast on that, right? But at the end of the day, you should feel good. Xbox Game Pass makes 5 billion as Microsoft reports massive growth. That is a good sign for you if you're like me and you participate in Game Pass. Microsoft has announced that Game Pass has hit almost 5 billion in revenue over the last fiscal year, with 500 million active users. Oh, wait, what? I did not see that before. Wait, Microsoft has announced that Game Pass has hit almost 5 billion in revenue over the last fiscal year, with over 500 million active users. Okay, what does that mean? This is Kotaku, guys. So I always take everything to say what I'm gonna say. That's 500 million active users, people just participating, not subscribers. I doubt it's subscribers. Because if it was subscribers, they would have bought EA already. And they would have bought Sega already. In fact, the whole of Microsoft has just reported annual revenue of 76.4 billion, up 18% on the previous year. These figures are being announced less than a month after the company fired 9,000 employees, and in the year it shuttered multiple games. So see, this is why I can't understand Kotaku. 18% on the previous year, because the way they write this is like you can get confused that they're talking about Xbox. They're talking about Microsoft as a whole. Just like with the firing of the employees, there's so many people that was like, Xbox fired 9,000 employees. I was like, dude, that makes no sense. If they fired 9,000 Xbox employees, they would have shut the company down or shut the division down, right? Dude, reading is fundamental. Microsoft's latest 10K. See, even when I try and give Kotaku a chance to irritate me, Microsoft's latest 10K filing describes just how much money is spilling out the top story windows of Microsoft headquarters. Gaming revenue for the company grew 9% on the previous year, adding another 2 billion, driven by growth in Xbox content and services, offset by decline in Xbox hardware. Even when falling console sales, this is interesting to me when they talk about the hardware, because I don't believe the numbers from the other people, especially Sony, when they talk about their hardware sales, because I find it hard to believe Sony can sell that much hardware with the economy being the way it is. And it's such a discrepancy between the Switch and the Xbox. Like, I don't look at in Xbox content and services offset by a decline in Xbox hardware. To me, it's not a decline, dude. It's just people are not buying. That's a difference. Like, you can't decline in the hardware. The hardware is already out there. A decline would be people selling their consoles. Even with the falling console sales down 25%. Okay, and that's okay. So you have a base, right? People already bought the console. Down 25% in console sales mean that they're not reaching their projections or what people think they're projected to do. And what they do is they extrapolate this because they're comparing it to past gaming cycles, which you should not do because we don't live in the past, we live in the present. Like, you can kind of do that for researcher purposes and stuff like that, but don't do that, guys. It's that's disingenuous, right? Because right now, dude, there's a lot of factors back then that's not influenced by now, like the cost of the consoles, the cost of games, right? The availability, because Microsoft has gone mostly digital. They straddle the fence when it comes to that stuff. All that stuff is you can take into consideration, but they don't care because they just want to do this. And I'm guilty because I'm sharing the thing. Try to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, so I'll dissect it for you, right? Kotaku lies, and then when they go away, I won't care. I'll be honest with you. Microsoft saw colossal increases in income from its gaming. Okay, in the same year, it chose to cancel multiple gaming projects, not multiple, a few, close down multiple studios, a few, and lay off thousands of employees. No, not thousands. Now, if you're counting like throughout the gamut of what Microsoft is doing since the purchase of Activision King Blizzard, then maybe you have a point. The document didn't feel the need to mention all these closures in its celebration of operating income of 34.3 billion, and instead stated, "We continue to invest in gaming studios and content to expand our intellectual property roadmap and leverage new content creators." Yes, that's what they're doing. Right? They've fallen back on the idea of Xbox program. When you open up if you play COD like I do, and you open up the store, they've invested a lot of time and energy in selling you stuff that's on the store. Same thing with Towerborn, right? Like if these guys played Xbox, they'd realize that. If they were being honest, they'd realize that. Right? Investing in intellectual property that they have is stuff that they have, right? Like Forza, gone, right? Not happy about that. Turn 10, not happy about that. But what they'll probably do is they'll take that and they ultra focus it back into Forza Horizon. So you might have a different Forza Horizon, a more online capable Forza Horizon, and because they shuttered uh, Turn 10 Studios, which I'm not happy about, guys. I'm not. Or Playground Games. Which one was it? Turn 10? Um, right? And there's reasons for that, guys. And we can have that discussion, and you guys can disagree with me. I'm fine, right? But they can take that. They can take that now and put the power behind Forza Horizon 5, which is the bigger property. Again, I like Forza Horizon. I like both. I think there's a space in the Xbox ecosystem for both. Obviously, Microsoft didn't feel that way, right? I like the more sim type racer in Forza, and I like the more arcadey racer in Forza Horizon. That's the way I consume my Forza Horizon content. Microsoft didn't see it that way, so they decided to move on. But again, we continue to invest in gaming studios, which they do. They do, right? Because in these very same articles that they drop online, they'll talk about how much these developers get. Right? In fact, to me, I think they need to kind of change from that. Like I would have pulled more back on that and then focus more on cut other places and keep Forza, the more sim Forza. That's what I would have done or tried to do. But again, this is disingenuous, right? Because it's not telling you how they do that, right? Like your Indiana Jones, like some of the other games that you might play on there, dude, when they have these DLCs and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to pay for it, right? But again, that's an investment for them, right? Because if it doesn't pay off, right, and you see that with a lot of these other companies, that's why these other companies are pulling back, right? It's in between the lines, guys. And if you're not a gaming type person, you don't notice them. But again, this is why we talk about Hebot all the time, right? The gaming historian, the way Hebot breaks this stuff down because he knows this stuff, right? It's not a just it's not just about just it's not just about making something just to make it, right? It's making something with return on investment. It's making something to expand the franchise. Man, it's so irritating, dude. It's just like, oh, they're just gonna take their money and run. No, they can't do that, dude. Especially the way Xbox is, dude. A lot of the games are services, right? They own Halo, and now they own COD, dude. They just can't sleep on that stuff, dude. They gotta always build a better mousetrap. And sometimes in doing that, dude, you gotta cut the fat around the company, even the stuff that's successful, which sucks. I get it. I don't like it either, right? Well, what am I gonna end up doing? Right, I'm gonna cry about the initiative going away, right? But then after I'm done with this video, I'll probably be upstairs playing COD. So it is what it is. The document didn't feel a need to mention all these closures in its celebration of an operating. Oh, I read that part. You'll be relieved to learn that the gamer remains at the heart of the Xbox ecosystem. Yes, yes, because Phil and crew actually care about the gamers, and Microsoft wants to make money. According to the corporation, we are identifying new opportunities to attract gamers across a variety of different endpoints through our first party and third party content and business diversification across subscriptions, ads, and digital stores. So if you hate the ads, prepare yourself, right? If you don't like subscription services, prepare yourself. And if you're like me that do a little bit of physical and do digital, right? Prepare yourself because they're telling you it's going to change right there. We are now the top publisher on both Xbox and PlayStation this quarter, and it's funny that they keep on mentioning this, right? Again, even though I don't care that they put their stuff over there, I do like the fact that it pisses ponies off. So that's my silver lining to this gray cloud. Speaking on an accompanying earnings call, as reported by Game Developer, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said that Xbox Game Pass annual revenue totaled just under $5 billion. With 500 million active users and nearly 40 games in development. He added, we surpassed over 500 million hours of gameplay streamed via the cloud this year. Okay, so maybe that's where they're pulling it from, which could mean it could be higher. Whereas they're just pulling it from what they're looking at the cloud, streamed via the cloud, which I do use. It's not perfect, but it's way better than it was. So I can see them doing that. So this number could actually be bigger than what it is. But it's not something I'm like, don't get it twisted about like actual subscribers. Or yeah, don't do that. Okay. But they are looking again, dude, and they've been doing this for years. Why people are like, oh, they're just making excuses. No, this is their model now. This is what they look at. And then you come hell or high water, dude. That could work good for you or bad for you, as a consumer, and as a fan, but especially as a consumer in the Xbox ecosystem. So take it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't lie to yourself about it, but don't believe all the hate because that's all it is at the end of the day. Don't listen to these things, right? But then also don't lie to yourself. You know, when you see these kind of figures, be honest about it so you won't get shocked when they do certain things. One of those early 40 games isn't one of those nearly 40 games isn't Perfect Dark. The franchise reboot being developed by the Initiative. That game was just canceled, the entire studio closed. And if there's one thing Microsoft isn't known for right now, it's pumping out vital games. Absolutely lie. Let's see what it says here. And then you click on this thing and it links you to this article, which is absolute trash. Xbox failed at the most important part of the games. This dude's a liar. He's probably a pony. Dude, Xbox has so many games across every genre, dude. If you can't find a game, that's on you, dude. This article is absolute trash. The fact that he has the cojones to even put this out here. Xbox failed at the most important part game, dude. This dude doesn't have an Xbox and he doesn't play games. If he does, dude, he's lying to himself. Dude, I can turn on my game. I can turn on my Xbox right now and not even look at my library. Just Game Pass alone debunks this, right? This stuff, dude. This is why Kotaku sucks. Pumping out vital games. There's no such thing as vital games, dude. There's just games. And if they mean vital games by the single story, that's the narrative that's been running for years. And look at what happened with that. Look how many studios got closed because of that BS. Right. The only thing that keeps Microsoft solvent is they didn't have a one style approach. They covered all their bases, and they covered all their bases because of the hate they got in 2013. That transition from 2013 to 2017, I talk about it on my channel all the time. That's what that transition, where they were like they took everything to heart, and they actually tried to give you something that you said that you wanted. But we all knew, especially us guys that believe me, we knew you guys were just a bunch of liars. You guys were lying. You guys were lying from the jump. You guys never meant anything that you said. You guys are never going to. Because at the end of the day, I knew what you guys were. You guys would complain about it, but you never would have bought an Xbox. The fact that you didn't have an Xbox One because of the lineup of games told me everything I need to know about you guys. And that's why I went green. That's why I went all in Xbox. Because if as a gamer, the way that a game, like I feel, well, for me personally, but as every gamer, the stuff that we like for generations, right? Everything's on Xbox right now. Absolutely. This is the BS that I talk about. And this is why these people are failing, dude, because anybody that participates in any type, regardless of what system, this is why the PlayStation guys know this too. They just keep their mouth shut because they're the ones complaining the most, and then they got their games put out there. And what is Sony doing? Sony didn't make any money because again, like this article said earlier, right? We're identifying new opportunities to attract games across. No, which one is it? Let me find this, dude. I want to read it at this point. Driven by growth in Xbox content and services, offset by the decline in Xbox hardware. No, where is it? Hold on. Bear with me, guys. Here, we continue to invest in gaming studios and content to expand our intellectual property roadmap and leverage new content creators. Yeah, that's what that means. That's what that means. That's why their Sony games is coming over to Xbox, right? Because they didn't do that. They didn't do this. They didn't. Sony didn't continue to invest in gaming studios and content, or expand their intellectual property roadmap and leverage new content creators. They did. Sony didn't do that. Sony did not do that, and that's why your God of Wars or whatever games. I don't even care honestly, but that's why your games are coming over to Xbox because Sony did not do this. Sony did not do this. Now some of you might be like, "Well, Xbox already brought their game over." Yeah, yeah, because that's what they mean. That's what when you read this from Xbox, that's what that means for Xbox. They're going to be everywhere, and they're going to get as much money as they can. And Sony's behind the eight ball, and that's why they're being forced to do it, right? Because they got to follow Microsoft. Yeah, this article is actually suck. This article is horrible. This is you'll be relieved to learn that a gamer. Okay, so where am I? Right here, right? You'll be relieved to learn that the gamer remains at the heart of the Xbox ecosystem. According to the corporation, we are identifying this is true. This has always been the true. I have 2013 and beyond, right, as evidence that this is true. According to the corporation, we are identifying new opportunities to attract gamers across a variety of different endpoints through our first and third party content and business diversification across subscriptions, ads, and digital stores. I think I read that earlier, right? Yeah, I did. Hold on. Speaking on accompanying games, where is that stupid? Oh, here we are. This one. Okay, now I know I'm not. Sorry, guys. Despite this, as Nadella said on the earnings call, we are now the top publisher of both Xbox and PlayStation this quarter, with successful launches of Forza Horizon 5. That tells you everything right there. And this is why you don't have Forza Horizon. They're going to put everything on Forza Horizon 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they make this a live service game. And what they're probably going to do, which I think is because I see them doing it with COD right now. Like, when you go on your Game Pass, dude, they have that COD, that kind of like this COD hub thing going on. It's messy, right? It's confusing. They need to find a way to make it better. I don't know how they could do that, dude. So, you know, I, you know, I don't have an answer for that, but they need to do something. Because having it all in a one place like that is awesome, right? Because it'll keep you intact, dude. That's what other games are doing, dude. That's what sells right now. Unfortunately, right? So I could see them doing with Forza Horizon. So you don't totally lose Forza Horizon. They might take that and incorporate it into Forza Horizon 5. And I'm telling you, dude, if they launch a Forza Horizon 5 or 6 in Japan, all of this stuff will go away. But what they could do with Forza Horizon is just make it a hub. Because Horizon in and of itself, right, it is an all-encompassing word. So when you see Forza Horizon, it's not just the arcade Forza. It'll be the ultimate Forza. Where you have your NASCARs and they'll break it out into hubs. Or they'll do a hub and then they'll break it out into little portions like they do with COD right now, dude. Like I was on COD, you have the multiplayer, dude. You have the zombie thing, right? That's part for the course, but it's in front of you. Then they have all the other games that are out there. Then they'll put in their advertisements, which you can't avoid. And then they'll put like their little mosh pit stuff. They'll put little stuff on there so you can just launch from there. And they could 100% do that with Forza. 100%. Hold on. Lost my place here. But that's right there, dude. With successful launches of Forza Horizon 5 and Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion has been like huge. I actually downloaded and played it, dude. It is amazing to look at since that game is super old and what they were able to do with it. Still a bit clunky though. But they're not gonna go rewrite the game. If they were gonna do that, then you just but if they go with if they go with with their other games, dude, I definitely think they should just remaster. I mean, not just remaster, just rebuild it from the ground up, because it is that worthy for them to do that. And again, this seems to be their game plan, right? This is what they want. They want you in that ecosystem, and this is another way to do it. I kind of am sad about the pop culture aspect of it, but when it comes to gaming, again, dude, I can't complain, dude. If they do that, that's crazy. So Forza Horizon 6, launch it in Japan, so that'll be huge, right? And then I'm not saying they're going to do that. That's what I think they should do, and then make it a hub that incorporates different versions of Forza, right? The more sim-based stuff, the more track-based stuff, dude. Make it an online game, online service game. That's where we're going anyway, right? If you're gonna do it, man, do it right. That's my opinion. The success in this area may be helped by the fact that Sony isn't exactly cracking out classics just now. Yeah, they're not cracking out classics. Where am I? Dude, I hate when it does that. Sorry. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I lost the narrative. Nope. Hold on. Like right here, Xbox games are saving the PS5 from its midlife crisis, right? And that midlife crisis just didn't come out of nowhere. Granted, the economy isn't helping them, right? But when Microsoft bought COD, that was a big deterrent. That's a big hit to their pocketbook, right? Because they weren't able to get people all on board. It's on multiple places now, so they don't own the narrative because of the DLC, right? And they did this to themselves, and their fans did this to them because their fans will sit there and tell them how much they love these games, and that's the only games that matter. Then the media will back them up on that, and then meanwhile they go all in on that stuff, and then what ends up happening? Nobody buys the game. So I love this. This is awesome because I've been saying this for the longest time. But this is all smoke and mirrors, and now all of this stuff has finally come. All of this stuff has gotten exposed. They've been exposed because it was all a lie. At the end of the day, these things don't make the number to be successful. You might get the critical acclaim. I say it all the time, dude. It's just like an Emmy award winning TV show, or it's like an Oscar worthy movie, right? You can have all the accolades you want. You can have all the critics accolades that you want. You can have all the people in that industry talking about how great it is. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to watch your movies. And it's very rare that those things hit it out of the park where they become that big. Right? For the most part, dude, it's niche. If I'm being nice, it's niche at best. And that's what happened with this stuff. This is why they're hurting. And deservedly so. Right? Because I don't mind that they did this. I don't care that they did this, right? What I cared about was the narrative that was out there. Like if they just would have stayed in the lane and be happy, if the media was honest, if their own fans were honest, right? So they created this themselves and they got to lie in that bed, and I'm happy. That's the one thing I've enjoyed about this whole week, watching these people squirm, because it was all a lie. They lied to you. The gaming media lied to you. Um, the Sony Defense Force and the Sony fandom lied to you, right? And now they're paying for it, which is beautiful. I think it's awesome. I love it. And that's one of the things I've been enjoying about this whole week, watching these guys squirm. Meanwhile, why I'm doing this podcast is because Microsoft just dropped a bomb on how much they're actually making, dude. And again, I say Microsoft because it is Microsoft proper. But like a rising tide raises all boats, right? Microsoft is the parent company, and because they do the things that are right and they're incorporating this into a lot of this stuff, some stuff you might not agree with, like I don't agree with every single thing. But at the end of the day, dude, that's how Xbox is 30%. And again, dude, I am gonna give you a word of caution, man. Like, be prepared, man, because I believe, especially with Satya getting involved directly with Microsoft, and I'm talking about just talking about them, acknowledging them, talking about some of the stuff that they expect. Dude, they did not. I always say they did not meet expectations. That's where all this stuff is coming from. And dude, and again, shout out to Phil. And it's not an easy job to straddle that line, dude. And 100% support you, Phil. I know I've been harsh on you lately, but I support you, bro. Because I do believe, like you need a creative side. I'm not all on board for the social, economical, social justice thing, but I am on board with you with the creative side. If you get rid of that creative, um, where are you going to draw from? It's unfortunate that we're just in a bad economy. So no matter how good something can be, you just might not do good, and that's across the board, guys. Right? Don't get it twisted, dude. A lot of these people are like, "Oh no, it feels this way or that way." It's like, no, dude. Economy matters, dude. Being in an industry like this where people have to like perform or have to show profit, and I'm not talking about profit just to be rich, profit to keep the engines, to keep the lights on. That's what they're facing right now, and it's an important thing, right? But kudos to Microsoft, dude. They got there. Can't wait till they start doing even more stuff. I'll probably be focusing a little bit more on Microsoft too in my commentary, just for the simple fact that they're like I did with the AI chip and stuff like that. They're changing. It's affecting a lot of different industries, and you should stay on top of that because it could affect you, good and bad. All right. So let me end this right here. We'll shut that down. I want to wrap this up because man, it's 9:30 already. I've been on for a while. Plus, I wanted to give the dude some chance to get in. I know that I'm doing it at an early time. They're probably busy with their families and stuff. That's fine. It's the only time I can do it. I got stuff on myself I got to do today, so I can't be on here forever. So I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. How long have I been going? Yeah, 2 hours is a good. Man, that's a long time. Sorry about that, but 2 hours is a good time to end the podcast, man. I hope you guys like it, man. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, dude. I will follow up with you guys. I gotta get better at that. I know, but at the end of the day, dude, some stuff you might not like what Xbox is doing, especially because Microsoft now. But at the end of the day, dude, where it matters, dude, they're untouchable. And it was a great earnings report. It's great watching all these people lose their mind and eat crow. I've been enjoying that. So all in all, good week for Xbox. All right, guys, Xbox on the channel. We'll take it forever. We out.